last traffic jam? Here, we have footage. Take a look. This is the last time he tied up the traffic. The Arby's, the drive-through.
The lane closures were meant to make life hell as payback to the mayor of Fort Lee, New Jersey for not endorsing Christie for re-election. No word yet on what the rest of New Jersey is payback for.
I'm so sorry I was late getting out here. Apparently I pissed off Chris Christie and he popped the tires on my city bike. And I just...
All right, the bridge scandal obviously providing a lot of material for the late night comics, but not much laughter inside Camp Christie tonight. So just how bad is the political damage to him both tonight and also, obviously this is a politician, Andrew, with ambitions beyond Trenton. How much is going to impact him as well?
Well, Rich, when your political mentor turns on you, that is what they call having a bad day in the politics game. Former governor and still popular in the Garden State, Tom Kean, whose campaign sparked Christie's interest in politics, was talking Christie this weekend, and the two are apparently not perfect together anymore. Kean saying, on one hand, I think he's got a lot to offer. I think he's the most able politician since Bill Clinton. But he says, on the other hand, you look at these other qualities and ask, do you really want that in your president? And he notes New Jersey is always interesting, but not like this. Other political allies providing mixed support for Christie. Rudy Giuliani saying he thinks Christie has done well so far, but...
Turns out that there's some evidence that he knew about it. He's taken the complete risk that his political career is over.
Others critical of Christie include Kentucky Senator and frequent foil of the governor, Rand Paul, and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, while RNC Chairman Reince Priebus and North Carolina Governor Nikki Haley have offered support for Christie since the scandal broke. Rich?
All right, let's bring in our panel right now, and for that, let's turn back the clock to New Year's Eve. And if you were with us, you obviously remember on Even Day, the table here, Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Allen College, professor of campaign management at NYU, Dominic Carter, political journalist, author, and so much more, Republican strategist and co-founder of New York Meeting, O'Brien Murray, and Andrew Whitman, who we have met. All right. You know what strikes me is, and you've been on with me when I've defended Christie to the hilt to these guys, and I think they always underestimate the pointlessness of so much of this. It wasn't just a mayor of Fort Lee would lead to this, but Tom Kean Sr. The reason why he's turning on Christie isn't just this. Christie froze out his kid, who was the Senate minority leader, and then he invited every Republican who supported him in the failed coup to get rid of him, to go to a Giants game with him. It's just, why would you try and tick off Tom Kean Sr.? And there's countless examples of this. It just shows a pettiness to him that makes this all the more believable that he could have fingerprints on this thing. And this isn't partisan. It's just, that was always the worry that these guys said. You can't be a bully only sometimes. It carries over into so many things that eventually will blow up. Was there almost an inevitability to this kind of a story for him?
Well, I don't know about inevitability. I think what you do have is a situation that in politics, it's always about a push and a pull. I mean, that's just what politics is. You count noses, you get your numbers and get there. So how do you get people there? You try to coerce them in some way, shape, or form about, hey, you're with me on this issue, let's get it together. Or you're against me and you pick your enemies and count noses. That's there's nothing unusual about that.
Here's the difference. But here's the difference. You have countless mayors, Democratic mayors, Democratic mayors, that if they didn't endorse him in a general,
but let's go back. Number one,
shut down the GW
we don't know if it's still the Fort Lee mayor he was going after or the majority leader in the state Senate, because the majority leader in the state Senate going after his appointee for judicial nominee. Number one.
By the way, think about that. We don't even know which guy.
What I'm saying is, and then today I saw a mayor from one of these towns. I think it was Jersey City, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm sorry, apologize. Different mayor complaining about a DMV office being closed when Christie first came in. Elizabeth, when Christie first came into office. Part of his reason of getting elected in his fight was to cut the state budget. He made cases for why.
This wasn't about efficiency. He closed down George Washington Bridge for political payback.
But what I'm saying is all this litany of other mayors coming out right now doesn't have the same credibility as one you've got. The big issue here is, I just one major point here, don't forget. We talk about 2016, that's the reason he's on the bullseye right now. He's not just the governor of New Jersey. The problem here is every single one of these committees you talked about, and we didn't even talk about the ones in New York yet, and the U.S. Attorney's Office and so forth, will have subpoenas, will have testimony just coming out, will drip everything they can when they want to do it based upon the schedule of when he's announcing where he's visiting without even being a candidate, where he's raising money as a governor.
And you know what, Dominic? this, we all knew the commercial, Stronger Than the Storm. Everybody after a while can almost recite it. You heard it so often, right? And the kids were in it, the wife was in it, and people were saying real. I mean, I remember at the time the questions. It now turns out, and we're talking about $2 million in the big scheme of things between two that are low bid versus the 4 that they went with. But it looks like self-promotion yet again. It looks like this guy's putting himself number one. There's a cumulative effect. I know there was a snapshot, the poll numbers he hasn't taken a hit yet on it, but in some ways this story...
He has taken a hit in the polls, Richard.
Okay.
A little bit.
A little bit, but not as pronounced as a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
But this investigation as to how the bid was arranged and what the conditions were to do the ad and the rest, there's a drip, drip, drip to this, isn't there?
Well, it's going from a drip, drip, drip to a gallon, gallon, gallon. That's how bad this thing is going. And I am telling you, there's a strong possibility. Forget 2016. There's a strong possibility that this governor may not finish his term. A strong possibility. Because I know that's far-fetched as of right now, and I know Bill Clinton survived Jennifer Flowers and so on, but this governor has so many enemies, and his handprints, his fingerprints, his micromanaging is on everything. On everything. Just pick a city. And wherever there's a Democratic mayor, either you endorse me or we're going to do this to you. And, I mean, his fingerprints are everywhere.
And Gina, there's
He's in
Republicans,
trouble.
too, now that have, I mean, Tom Kaine Jr., I mentioned what happened, and then senior speaking, but there's other Republicans as well who have got in line. If there was anybody who crossed him, and we talked last week, even a fire commissioner who had said something that didn't agree with the mayor, and then he had to, he got a phone call that night that, what did you do? You crossed the governor, you gotta be careful. Point being here, if you're Christie right now, you lay down the marker that said, I didn't know, I never had a conversation, period, exclamation point. If it turns out that more members in his administration knew about the closure at the GW beyond Ms. Kelly, who's now out of a job and was called an idiot and much worse in the press conference, right, and a liar and everything else, and those 2 other appointees, both at the Port Authority and other, is that his biggest worry, that they're going to talk right now? Or is it other stuff like, for example, when he was attorney, how he would funnel money to other attorneys to monitor the pharmaceutical companies and others that crossed them? You know what I mean? There just seems so many angles to this.
Yeah, there's a lot. And, it is really interesting. The problem he has, and everybody has talked about it, one of the big problems in these scandals is always, and we saw this with Governor Spitzer in particular, when you upset so many people in your party and elsewhere, you become a very lonely person once these scandals hit. And he has that problem. I mean, Dominic mentioned his enemies. Bill Clinton survived in part because he had friends and people were willing to support him. Governor Christie is going to have a hard time being a lonely man on top. And let's look at this. It's not only Kelly. It's not only the 2 that resigned at the Port Authority. The 22,000 email drop that occurred on Friday shows every single senior member of his staff, including the person he has nominated to be the state attorney general, knew about this, not from the outset, but at least in terms of the cover-up. Every single person he is close to has their hands on this in one way or another. So that is an enormous problem for him. I can imagine what he did in that 26 hours, except he had to make sure he is not implicated in those emails. But, OB mentioned the legal process is what's going to kill him here. Because anybody turns and for immunity,
this is not a cover-up. There's a major incident here. There's a calamity here. But I would not use the term cover-up. The question becomes, but using that word, let's make very careful that that's not what this is. What this is right now is,
I disagree. There was absolutely a cover-up. Did you read those emails? They absolutely said, we will not talk to reporters about the fact that there was no study. We will try to skirt through this. There was absolutely a cover-up.
Press conference, the governor was still trying to insist
I'm not saying Christie was involved in the cover-up.
See what I'm getting at is, but at
was.
what point did the staff know what actions they take? That's part of damage control.
There's one point
that's not a cover-up. There's damage control that is not a cover-up. There's a difference.
One point that I think sometimes it gets overcomplicated. This is simple. For 4 days, the busiest bridge in the entire world, lanes were shut down, and from the first few hours that they did this, everybody was raising holy heck. Forget just the Fort Lee mayor. People, it was first day of school. It was on September 11th. It was the anniversary of 9/11 that this was happening. Everybody was saying, what is going on here? Then, let's remember, this is Port Authority, so it's New York and New Jersey. You head over on the New York side, Foy goes, what the heck's going on here? And he overruled his Jersey He overruled his Jersey counterpart and said, "Enough of this. There's no what's
but it goes
going
back,
on here."
Richard.
And then here's
let's
the
go back
question
for
mark.
one thing before that.
What then did Christie
This
and Cuomo
started
talk
in
about on the
August.
call?
The discussion was in August to cause problems in Fort Lee.
But isn't that a bigger
No,
indictment
what I'm
on
saying,
the
and then it
Christie
took. So what
administration?
happened between August and September to execute it? After September, when it became public knowledge this event occurred, what took place then to address it? And that's what I'm saying is the question.
No, and
There's
you're
damage
saying
control.
There's a difference between damage control and cover-up. But and I agree with you when you're on the inside. But from the perspective of the public, listen, tell us the truth. What did you know and when? I agree with you on the inside. Yeah, we want to make sure we manage this. But from the perspective of the public, it's the same thing.
And if I give one more touch to it, can any of you remember a story? And I said this to Senator Cody. We've seen guys screw around. We've seen guys put their hand in, in the pocket here and take money out. We've got political favors. We've got all that. Can you ever remember a story anywhere where an administration, I didn't say the governor, but an administration intentionally set out to screw the constituents to make a political point?
Yes.
I
It
can't
happens
say
every day.
It happens every day.
Every day.
Yes, it started.
Every day.
I'm not going to name names, but it's starting to happen a lot more, Richard. It's
the
not.
scope of the George Washington Bridge?
But it's not
No,
about.
just
It's not
'cause you
about
saw
hurting.
that's
It's not
the
about
difference.
hurting the constituent. All politics are local. We're going to hurt the guy that's in charge. But for 15 seconds, I just want to go back to what you said about the ad, because that's very damning as well. He used Sandy money that was supposed to go for Sandy relief ads to, oh no, I'm the governor. I'm going to look good in this commercial. We got a bid for wait. We got a bid for 2.5 million. That's not good enough. My family's not going to be in that commercial. We're not going to take the lowest bid. We're going to take the bid that's double that amount because it stars me and my family.
Dominic, that's not. I think
what happened.
that I believe is a leap too far. I think what you're talking
Well, explain
about
to me, please,
is a
what
creative
happened.
decision of where it was
creative.
going.
Is that the
and
word?
this was just
Creative.
let's make this clear.
Okay, what about
these
the lowest
ads,
bid? Does
these
government
ads,
generally does government generally
these
take
ads
the
were about
lowest bid?
tourism.
Right.
These ads,
Generally,
and
does
by the way,
government take the lowest bid?
they've gotten awards.
Just one question.
These ads were
Just one.
phenomenal
I think you get 100
ads.
awards. Just one question. Generally, does government take the lowest bid?
Whose ads were better?
Wait.
New
You
York
haven't
City
answered
or
my
New
question.
Jersey?
Generally,
New
does government
Jersey
take the
had
lowest
much better
bid?
ads.
You haven't answered
Here's
You haven't answered my question.
What's the question?
Generally, does government take the lowest bid?
No.
Okay.
They
There
don't.
are qualifications for who they are.
What about $2 million? What about the fact he held Cory Booker's election a few weeks earlier
that's
at
right.
the cost of
$30
$24 million or
$30
$30 million?
But these are all like indictments into his style and mismanagement and things like that. I honestly think if you don't get inside to the point where you know conclusively that Chris Christie knew about this thing and ordered this thing with the GWB, I don't know if you got it.
Where I disagree is, I know your point. You got to get a smoking gun. But to me, look what happened on day one. Look at the floodgates. We talked about what he was doing when he was in the attorney's office in New Jersey. We talked about the ad. Time out. You got a dozen mayors that are coming out of the woodworks. We haven't even heard from the 3 people who were thrown on the bus and rolled over. I got to go to break.
But the thing we can't forget is all these documents come out and they show nothing wrong. It vindicates him.
Well,
that's
we already
something,
know.
That's something that's very, very
you're going to
important.
find out a name we don't know yet on the redacted stuff. You're going to take out the redaction. You're going to find names about, including one name we haven't heard yet. Obviously, this story will continue. All right, when we come back here, Chris Christie had a bad day. Well, Mr. Alex Rodriguez had a very bad one, too. We know what happened to him. When we come back, we're going to bring in Andy Martino from the Daily News and talk about where we go from here.